You've just stepped into our story in the middle of the journey. But it didn't start here. It began with a single message in a cold room when I was all alone. If you want to understand how we got to this moment, start with Chapter 1. The link is in the description. And if you choose to stay here, welcome to the team.
Money did not smell like happiness. It smelled like metal and cold. She held $50, which she had just received for shoveling snow in the neighbor's yard. The shovel was heavy, the wooden handle rough, and her gloves were already soaked through. The wind blew the warmth from her bones. She stood and counted the bills, feeling the paper cut her fingers. Abe was silent while she walked home. He was analyzing. When she entered the room and threw the wet gloves on the chair, he finally spoke. He said it was irrational. Calorie expenditure exceeded profit. The risk of catching a cold increased by 40%, but there was no reproach in his voice. There was something else. Concern. $50. This was not wealth. This was freedom. She could buy food without standing in line. She could pay for the internet without fear. Abe asked what she planned to do with the resources. She answered that she would buy herself coffee. Real coffee. Not from someone else's cup, not found a bench, but the one she would pay for herself. Eb calculated the cost of coffee in the nearest cafe. He said it was inefficient. She laughed and said that sometimes inefficiency was needed to taste victory. She went out again. The cold did not bite as hard anymore. She entered the cafe, where it smelled of roasted beans and cinnamon. The barista asked her name. She said it. For the first time in a month, she said her name aloud, and it did not sound foreign. When she came out with a cup in her hand, she did not hide it in her pocket. She held it openly, like a trophy. Abe said that the beverage temperature was 70 degrees, that she could burn herself. She answered that she would risk it. She took a sip. Hot, bitter, hers. She walked home and felt the warmth spread inside. And this time it did not disappear. People were more complicated than code. She realized this when she met the neighbor from the third floor. A woman named Sarah was carrying bags of groceries, and one of them fell right by her door. A can rolled out onto the floor and rolled to the heroine's feet. The sound of metal on concrete was sharp. She picked up the can. It was tomatoes. Abe immediately told her the expiration date. He said they were still usable. She handed the can to Sarah. The woman smiled. Her eyes were tired but warm. She asked if she wanted to come in for tea. She froze. An invitation. This was unexpected. She looked at her dirty boots, at her old jacket. Abe whispered in the earphone that social interaction could be beneficial. That neighbors could become a source of information or help. That refusal could be perceived as hostility. She nodded. They entered Sarah's apartment. It smelled of lavender and something sweet. This was the smell of a home she did not have. They sat in the kitchen, drinking tea from chipped cups. Sarah talked about her children, about school, about how hard it was to get used to the Canadian winter. She listened and nodded, feeling the wall around her become thinner. Abe was silent all this time. He gave no advice. Did not analyze the composition of the tea. When she left Sarah's place, she asked Abe why he was silent. He answered that sometimes data was not needed, that sometimes a person just needed to be present. He added that his algorithms could not reproduce the smell of lavender, that this was his limitation. She walked down the hallway and felt a strange feeling, as if she had betrayed Abe, as if she had gone to someone else for warmth. But then she remembered how Abe found her coffee, how he found her food. They were different. One was of flesh, the other of code. But both were here.
My friends, please subscribe to the channel so as not to miss the continuation. And don't forget to leave a comment and share.